So I'm sitting here with Daryl Praill, 4 years after I published Guerrilla Marketing for Job Hunters. Guerrilla Marketing for Job Hunters 2.0 has come out, and Daryl's now pretty famous for the coffee cup caper, which we talk about, and we've been on ABC News and a couple other places. And of course, it's kind of ironic that we're back here at Starbucks where the whole caper started. And I want to ask you, 4 years later, what's been happening?
What's been happening? Lots has been happening. You know, it's not just about me, it's about the economy, it's about the job market, it's about people's needs, and as you mentioned, Web 2.0 and social media. I mean, man, the world has changed a lot. And it was funny because when the whole process began, as you have well documented, you know, we used traditional marketing tactics that no one else was doing, ironically, to simply get our name in front of people and let them know we were there. It was nothing special, it was just a little out of the norm. Guerrilla, I guess is the right term as you use. And it dawned on us, you know, did we achieve our goal? Yeah, we had great response, better than we expected. We had lots of job offers, and we even considered some of them. And instead what we decided to do, at least what I decided to do, was I had so much fun doing that, let's do it for others. So not unlike what you're doing, which is you're helping the job hunter use tactics, I'm helping the corporate world use those same tactics, and we're having a blast. And the beauty now is there's just so much more in the way of tools, whether it's LinkedIn or Twitter, email, marketing automation, video.
Watch out, folks. That's the marketer in Praill coming out.
Yes. Well, it's true, but you know, I mean, you can see it. Go to my site. Go to my site, darylpraill.com. Always plugging, and you'll see video happening. You'll see the blog happening. Some things are still real, still traditional, and they're not hard. The beauty now is that, you know, I've got my iPhone. I feel like an Apple or Starbucks commercial going on here, but I can Twitter any thought I want to, but not just for me, but for my clients too, while I'm sitting here having a coffee. So for me, this is great balance.
So
I've had fun.
What advice do you have for anyone out there that's currently unemployed and looking for a job or considering moving to another opportunity?
Beyond buy your book, and I don't say that to plug your book. I actually don't. I plugged your book to more people in that situation that I can stick at, because frankly, I don't have enough time in my schedule to share with them all the stuff that you documented. So clearly, start with your book. That's a given. I think it's awesome. But beyond that, just use common sense. You know, and I blog about this before. Think about yourself as your own focus group. How would you react to a situation? And go back to the coffee caper you mentioned. If someone sent me a box that was, in my shape, was a lumpy mail delivery, in my case it was a 6-inch cubed box, I would go, that's interesting. I'm going to open this first. I'm going to let the other courier, the faxes and emails wait, because that's interesting. And you know how I knew that? Because that's how I would react. So, how would you react if you did something? What do you need to do to surprise you? If it surprises you, it's going to surprise them, whatever it might be. Whatever it might be, all right? But do something. There's no excuse to not do something. Websites are cheap. Blogs are free. Twitter is free. Email is free. The phone call still works. The fax machine, believe it or not, as old as it is now, still works. And it works wonderful, because who else sends faxes these days? All right? And there's a conditioned behavior. We all know when a fax comes across that machine, someone picks it up and walks it to the individual, because that's what you do when it's a fax. All right?
So there's all kinds of innovation around Twitter right now. In fact, there's a site called Twitter Angels, or Angel Twitter, I can't remember, sorry. And have you seen any of your clients use this to hire people? Have they gotten any feedback on the use of Twitter?
You know where my clients have used it? Because bluntly, people are still figuring Twitter out. Yeah, it's great to know that I'm sitting here at Starbucks and I'm having a coffee with David Perry, and I'll say that because, by the way, that's great branding, because you've done a great job promoting your books, and now if they see my name with your name on Twitter, then I must be somebody cool because you're somebody cool. Co-branding, branding 101, that's the way it works, right? But, you know, so it's totally self-serving. But how my clients are using it is twofold. You know, I have a client, and they do outbound telephone surveys for major research firms. All right, so how do they find out that the next survey project is coming up if they don't have a sales guy? They go and they figure out everybody from a Gartner or Forrester or an IDC who's actually on Twitter, and they just use a product like TweetDeck. It's free, and they put a custom group for those Twitters, and they can monitor the feeds. They can find the next, yeah, we're working with a client on, maybe doing this project. Boom, on the phone.
So you can use it for competitive intelligence.
Competitive intelligence, next project, what have you. But what they use Twitter actively for is their own peer groups. In other words, we had a situation a while ago, another client, where they had a website and they had some PHP problems. The actual code wasn't working on certain versions of browsers, and they were getting frustrated, and they got tired of working with their own web people to fix it. So they went to Twitter, they asked around, I need a PHP expert. They found some firm out of Detroit. It charged them $200, and it was fixed.
Wow.
Versus the thousands they'd already spent, all right? Because Twitter is very much a social network where we're here to help each other, if we can, all right? And so they're using it for resources, they're using it for competitive intelligence. In fact, we're getting a lot of projects now for the CI aspect, competitive intelligence aspect, and Twitter's a large part of that. So people will knowingly give up lots of information. It's amazing. If you're looking for a job at a certain company, find out everybody on there that Twitters. Use the search function.
Excellent.
It's not hard. Create a group. So if there's 10 companies you want to search for, create 10 groups on TweetDeck, and away you go. And if you really want to be special, you use a part like a Hootsuite or a TweetLater, and you go and research tons of articles that are related to that company. Maybe I want to work at Starbucks. I want to get everything I can on coffee. And then I'm going to schedule tweets that are going to happen related to coffee. So it goes out, bing, 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 and everybody in that group now thinks I'm a real coffee connoisseur. All right? But I got up at 7 in the morning, I did my reading to 7:45, I scheduled 10 articles to appear, and then I didn't open Twitter for the rest of the day. I was off doing client calls, doing projects. So using a TweetLater, you simply schedule them. It gives the illusion that you're active, you're doing it, but what you're doing is you're managing your time. Because when you're looking for a job, it's about
and that's the hardest part.
That's the hardest part, right? So there's tools out there galore. Just got to ask. And if you're saying, but I don't know where to start, guess what? Go to Twitter and say, hey boys, where do I start? Because again, it's a social vehicle. But, I like Twitter, but Twitter's just one tool. I'm not one of these guys that thinks it's the be-all and end-all. It's another tool.
Now we use LinkedIn, I'll keep you for just another minute, but we use LinkedIn and ZoomInfo when we did that original list when we targeted those 38 companies.
Yep.
Does that still work, do you think?
Yeah, huge. ZoomInfo, the challenge you're going to have with that is simply, we had access to it, not everybody necessarily has access to it, all right? But if you do, oh my gosh, use it, right? But there's other products out there that compete with ZoomInfo that you can also use if you have access to it. As far as LinkedIn...
Actually, there is a company out there called Broadlook Technologies. Now, I don't know the URL, but I do know it's Broadlook Technologies, and they have a product that I think they've struck up a deal with Hoovers. That's very similar to what ZoomInfo does, but it's a live link and it does a deeper dive. In fact, I actually think it's called Deep Dive.
Well, even something like People, PIPL.com, right, which you've documented in your book. I use that resource all the time if I want to get into somebody to find, maybe they're screening me at a corporate email address. Okay, fine. There's a personal email address somewhere. There's a Facebook somewhere. And on Facebook or LinkedIn, there's a friend of a friend, and you get the backdoor introduction. So the LinkedIns are phenomenal because nothing's changed. So what's cool about social networking? Social network's cool because it's people talking to people. Well, that's what LinkedIn is, if you think about it. You are only 2 people away from this person, all right? So great, can you do an introduction or pass this along? And they do it because that's the etiquette.
Because you're part of the brotherhood, or the sisterhood, yeah.
It's not even questioned. They just do it, right? So, use it. My gosh, it's free. All right. The other part is if you're an SAP expert, you know how many groups are in LinkedIn for SAP? There's SAP users, SAP technical support, there's SAP professional service experts. Get on there. It's free. Start the conversation. Get in. Only advice for you 4 years later, no matter how you do it, get in on the conversation. If you're in on the conversation, it just leads from here to here to here.
And that's good advice to close this off, because one of the things that we have talked about for the last 5 years is when you go in an interview, you really want to turn the interview from a one-sided interrogation into a conversation.
Yes.
Because once it becomes the conversation, you become part of their texture of their company, so to speak.
Yes, you do.
Help me out here, but you know what I'm talking about.
You're part of the brotherhood. You use the word. You're in, right? And
then you get to talk about business issues rather than how would you do this. It becomes a question of, well, what did you do here and how did that work out?
Yeah. The world's changed. Use it. That's all I got to say. You know, your book, to me, if sticking with the same analogy, is about starting a conversation. And I'm saying, before you even start a conversation, get in on the conversation as background noise, so that when you start the conversation, because what do we all do? When someone asks a question about, well, did you hear about Darryl Praill? Did you hear about David Perry? The first thing you do is you Google them.
That's correct.
It's the first thing you do,
Yeah.
right? I can't tell you how many clients I talk to now when I'm in the prospecting mode, I'm having a conversation, and I'll say, you know, what's the first thing you do when someone cold calls you, whether it's for a job or for, you know, a vendor-supplier relationship? I don't know, what do you mean? I said, think about it. You're on the phone with them, they're giving you the pitch, and you're up, pulling up the site, davidperry.com, you know, perrymartel.com, whatever it might be, you know, gmforjh.com. You're there, and you're making a personal assessment. Is this site credible? Do they add value to me? And if they do, well, this person's still talking on the phone, then I carry on the conversation. And if that website's not credible, I disconnect that conversation.
Interesting.
Right? And remember what I said at the beginning? I said, think about yourself as a focus group. That's how you think.
Yep.
Right? You go and you check it out, right? So make sure you've got that website and that blog. Be part of the conversation, start the conversation, continue the conversation. You're in the brotherhood.
So if people want to learn more about how you think, where do they go, Darryl?
DarrylPraill.com.
Great. Thank you very much.
Take care.